Good morning. It's just gone midnight. Tuesday, the 21st of July 2020. I'm in a nice little hotel in King's Lynn, Norfolk, England. And talking heads come to mind. I have a television here. I don't have one at home, but this ambassador to China, I think he was, being unapologetic about China's behavior with, I don't know anything about this, but the Uyghur people and, I don't know, Hong Kong, the two big issues. Now, absolutely, crucially, before the Second World War, the Prime Minister of Britain came back with waving a bit of paper saying peace in our time with Hitler. Well, this man Xi Jinping in China is way in a different league to Hitler. He's got whatever it is, 1,300 million people in China all under his thumb at the moment, and they seem to go along with it. They've had economic growth, China, whereas we in the West haven't. So they think they've got economic muscle. Dominic Raab is the government minister here in Britain, standing up to this man, if you like. So, to continue on yesterday or Sunday evening, lovely evening, etc., etc. I mean, this is major worldwide politics. They're talking, Ian Duncan Smith is a former Conservative minister and whatever. 18 countries are coming together on a consensus sort of basis to castigate China for her behavior to her citizens internally. Hitler absolutely invaded, and here my history's just failed me, on September the 1st, 1939, Poland, am I right? Hope that's right. Now, Macmillan, I'm sure it was Macmillan, came back waving a bit of paper from Hitler saying peace in our time. Appeasement was the problem. They're all this blasted ambassador fellow. Oh, you know, we'll balance this against that, and this against that, and that against this, and this against that. Oh, please. China's got its own agenda, okay? Basically, it wants to get its claws, okay, into our short and curlies, all right? To put it in the vernacular. I mean, it's perfectly obvious. For heaven's sake. In case you don't know, I am a Christian. I try to make sense of the world in which I live. We clearly have a pandemic, COVID-19, coronavirus going on. Before this, there was global warming. Global warming hasn't gone away. I mean, global warming is just warming the globe. With getting on for 8,000 million people all doing human activities, obviously this is going to have an effect upon the world in which we live. I mean, it's patently obvious. The Americans, I think, if I'm right here, have withdrawn from the Paris Agreement or something. They're not signing up to global warming because it's too much trouble for business, basically, to scrub CO2 emissions from factories and everything. I'm not a politician. I'm not an expert on anything. I can do many things. I was once described as a Renaissance man. I was doing a degree in computing at the time at Thames Polytechnic. Four, I've got Bristol University for medicine, Goldsmiths for psychology, St David's University College, South Wales, religion and ethics, and then finally this Thames Polytechnic for computing science. So what? Yes, I'm a bright bloke, so what? Fortunately, my old brain box is still working. I have not got COVID as far as I know. But no, when I was training to be a medical doctor, right back in the 70s, believe me, you wake up the next morning, you're a bit achy and creaky, and you've definitely got all the symptoms of whichever disease it was you learnt about yesterday. Definitely. So as I'm getting old, I just learn not to worry too much. But if I had the slightest symptom of this COVID thing, then I would know. Amongst others, there's this taste thing. I know it's asymptomatic. I've got medical conditions, so and I'm getting older. I'm close to a vulnerable group. The end times, that's what I'm on about. I mean, there they are, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. They're called the Synoptic Gospels, the first three books of the New Testament, the Gospels. It's not in John, it's in Matthew, Mark and Luke. Anyone can look it up. It's there for anyone to see. And I see this coronavirus, this COVID-19, as quite clearly God saying to mankind, I am the boss. I am God. That's what Yahweh means. Okay, the tetragrammaton. It's so holy, the Hasidim, holy Jews, will not say God's name. They say, this, the Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael. Adonai. Adonai Elohim. Adonai Echad. It's in the mezuzah on the door. It's Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Shema Yisrael. I have it sung. I listen to it pretty often. Shema Yisrael. Adonai Elohim. Adonai Echad. I can't speak Hebrew. I can only speak of what I know. I know trouble is coming. I mean, it's so perfectly, absolutely clear and obvious. The world can't see it yet, but God has locked down the world in, I said in an earlier film, I said 4 months because of March the 23rd, Monday in England, we had lockdown, but this coronavirus was kicking off in Wuhan, is it? Hotan. Anyway, I had no idea. I looked the city up, it's 11, 12 million people where it kicked off in the market and stuff. And then the Americans say the Chinese started in the laboratory. The Chinese say the Americans started it. I couldn't care less where it started. I've tried to work in poor townships. I have a missionary ancestor, William Ross, who trained with Dr. David Livingstone. So, to try to bring God's word to poor black people in Africa, if you like. For those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, I can only speak as clearly as I know. And that's it. And I see trouble coming. This coronavirus, COVID-19, to me is clearly a pestilence, as spoken of in the Bible. God preparing his world for the times to come. It's, to me, absolutely clear and obvious. I speak to people, I meet people, I travel and I meet people along the way. Curiously, it's African people, black Nigerians or whomever I meet, Ghanaians or South Africans or whatever, black people who get it from their church. It's obvious. This coronavirus is God saying to mankind, I'm the boss. You, mankind, are rubbish. Now, we are precious and special in God's eye. Okay? Every single hair on the head of your fellow man, woman, and child is precious and special. God says this too in the Gospels. But it doesn't mean we can behave badly. 2/3 of the world's population are still sort of below the poverty level. Okay, I don't know if that's correct or not, but a huge number of people in this whole world, India, China, Brazil, pick a country, the Philippines, anywhere. South Africa, for me, that's my background, I have worked in townships by Cape Town, Guguletu, Nyanga and Khayelitsha. They're big townships by Cape Town. They speak, I can do the clicks because I'm from there. The big one, I suppose the West knows, is Soweto by Johannesburg, Joburg. They're little black babakins walking around in bare feet and rags. No food, no money, nothing. And they're still so happy. Very often, or sometimes, they become great footballers and stuff because they've got such strength in their spirits. I've physically seen a baby die in my arms there through AIDS. The lorry drivers come through and I can see this clearly. Right. My films virtually get no views. It's the best I can do to sort of try to let the world know that God is the boss. We are nothing. Before God, I am nothing. Amen. So, the 2 commandments, basically, love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Anyone and everyone can understand that. There's no sort of dissimulation available. And if we love our neighbor, we must feed and water them, and we must definitely not kill them. We don't have to like them. They may be awful neighbors, but we must love them. So the answer is love. Amen. The answer is love. Amen.